Hello, good evening, and welcome to this live. Um, Thank you guys so much for joining me here on the channel. I really appreciate that. Today's topic, it's quite interesting. Um, Basically, foreigners are creating jobs in Africa, but the diaspora tend to be job seekers. I would just want to throw that out there for people to let me know their thoughts on the matter. This is something that keeps coming up time and time again. What are your thoughts? And that's why I'm here. I'm interested to know, um, people's opinions on this topic. Those of us who are listening in, after the live, there'll be a slight delay as we wait for others to join us here on the live. So welcome, welcome. I'm seeing some of you joining. Please let me know where you're joining from. Um, Please be interactive. I want this session to be really, really interactive. I really want to hear your thoughts on the current topic. Um, Foreigners are creating jobs in Africa, but the diaspora, we tend to be job seekers. And that's what we're here discussing today. Um, Please let me know where you're listening in from. I would appreciate that so much. Right, as we wait for more people to join the live, I apologize to those who are coming and basically listening in to us. And there'll be like a slight pause because obviously we have to wait for other people to join the discussion. So I'll just go ahead and just, why this topic came up. I'm hearing a lot, and, other people have expressed it on their channels where, they believe that, foreigners are coming into Africa and they are creating jobs and they are grabbing the opportunities that are available in Africa and running with it. And, you know, they are, you know, they are basically benefiting from that. But the diaspora, when we think about going to Africa, we think, right, let's find a job. I'm seeing, sorry, more people join the live. Please let me know where you're joining in from. I would appreciate it. I just want everybody to also bear in mind that I do want this to be quite interactive. Um, so please, please, please do let me know where you are watching from. Today's topic again, foreigners are creating jobs. Foreigners are creating jobs in Africa, but the diaspora tend to be, job seekers. And I really want to get your thoughts on this particular topic. So Nani Maroon, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much. We're just waiting for more people to join the session. Thank you guys for joining the session. I really appreciate it. Please let me know where you're listening in from. I really want this to be an interactive one. So please, please bear that in mind. I will send out the link shortly so that, we can hear what everybody else have to say. But for me, earlier on this year, I was in Rwanda and I was registering my business at the Rwanda Development Board. And I saw, Chinese and, other Asians and, like other foreigners there who were registering their business. They're creating jobs in Africa, you know. And, when we go there, we're looking to search for jobs. So is that a mentality that needs to change? What do you think about that? That's what I really want to know. Several years ago, actually, I met someone. I was traveling to Ghana in 2016 or 15, it was, and I met someone who said that she was struggling in Ghana because she was actually trying to find a job and couldn't find a job. And a couple of years later, because she was struggling so much, I think she'd come out of one job, was looking for another job, and things weren't happening. So she then ended up returning back to the UK. And I just wondered if her mentality was different. Could she have been someone who could have created some jobs in Ghana and potentially have done well by, creating jobs for other locals as well, and potentially running a successful business. So let me just invite you all in, whoever wants to join me. I would appreciate that. All right, so I am sending out the link. For me, when I was in Rwanda, basically, I wasn't thinking about finding a job. In fact, I did a master's in global health and in international development, but I came to the realization that I didn't want to work for an NGO, because a lot of the times the NGOs are not providing sustainable solutions for Africa. It's like, right, we'll give them, for example, clothes or food today, but when things get rough, those people can't find food for themselves. So how do you prevent that from happening? I believe that you do that through job creation. A lot of our young people on the continent are unemployed. So I really believe that the diaspora need to think about what opportunities can I bring for the young people to increase their livelihoods and to impact economical development within within Africa. Right, so I've sent the link out. Please, if anybody wants to join me, please do let me know your thoughts in the comments as well. I'd really appreciate that. I really want this to be interactive, as I've said. So please feel free to call in. And the topic today is foreigners are creating jobs in Africa, but the diaspora tend to be job seekers, right? I've seen this for myself when I've traveled, whether that's been to Uganda, Kenya, Rwanda, Ghana. I feel like obviously things are changing now with the diaspora a little bit, because more people are going there with the mentality that now they need to create jobs on the continent. But I feel like still a lot of people have the idea of going to the continent and trying to find jobs with those firms. Let's just bring that up. And yes, it's about us being creators of jobs and opportunities to Africa is waiting. Yeah, I think that, even those on the continent already, like, Africa has so much brilliance and talent, and I think that we need to, realize that and bring forth our potential. And even those from the diaspora who are thinking about contributing to the development of the continent, we can bring those opportunities to Africa. We can say, right, just sit down, plan, have a business plan in place. I believe if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail. So having some sort of business plan in place to help you to, when you get on the continent, doing as much research as you can, so that you have the knowledge and understanding. Obviously, a lot of the understanding comes when you're on the ground as well. So, your research coupled with your knowledge when you're on the ground, I think will really help to sort of help you forward with your business ideas. So definitely, I've met so many young people during my travels that are unemployed, and I just think that, wow, if more of us from the diaspora just, came to the continent and brought our skills and ideas, these people would be so much better off. We are the ones that are going to contribute towards, reducing unemployment on the continent, bringing our ideas, bringing industries and manufacturing companies and, things like that Africa needs. Whereas like NGOs, when they go there, they're not thinking about sustainable solutions. So again, I'm going to send out the link, and I'm hoping that at least one of you will come in and engage with the conversation and offer some ideas. So I've just sent out the link, and I'm hoping that someone will come in and have a chat with me. So Nani Maroon, and you're from the UK. Anyone else? Where are you listening in from? Right, a slight pause. Nanny Maroon, do you plan to come and, give us a few words, a few thoughts on the topic? Anyone else? Seeing more people join in. So please feel free to click on the link. I've sent the link out several times, and just come and discuss with us what you think about the topic. Foreigners are creating jobs on the continent, and the diaspora, we tend to be job seekers. Is that the right mindset to have? I just want to know what you guys actually think. Does there need to be a change of mindset? How can we change our mindset? What do you think is holding us back in terms of, being people who bring forth creative ideas to, create jobs? What is the limiting factor here? I'm just trying to, understand more about that, and even discuss with other people who would like to go to the continent, but perhaps thinking about, um, trying to find jobs on the continent. I know I know someone from Nigeria actually who went to, I think, Lagos, and she was there for a while, sort of, moving around and not being successful in terms of the whole job search. And she came back to the UK, and she's like, Karen, it's so difficult trying to find a job in Nigeria, and that influenced her wanting to come back to the UK. She packed up everything and gone to Nigeria, and basically could not find a job, or jobs that she was finding, they were very much short lived, and ended up coming back to the UK. And even now that she's here, she's feeling like she's not satisfied because she wants to be on the continent. And again, that's another, I think, situation where, if she just had that shift in mindset and thought to herself, let me be the one to create jobs, because she's got a degree, she's got a master's, she's very talented, she's very educated. So what was limiting her in terms of being the one to create jobs on the continent? So right, I'm waiting, guys. Please come on. We need there to be an interaction, just to kind of facilitate this live, and keep it sort of flowing. Otherwise, it's just me sort of talking at the screen, and that's not going to be a successful live. So I'd really appreciate if at least one of you could call in and share your thoughts with us. Okay. So let me just talk a bit about, what I was doing in Rwanda. So in Rwanda, I've got several projects that I'm actually working on, obviously due to COVID and the fact that I came back to the UK because I had some issues that I had to sort out, or I lost a family member and then came back to the UK. So obviously my business at the moment is pretty much on hold. But for me, I'm looking to get back to Rwanda as soon as possible. I've just been praying and wishing that COVID-19 would just go away and I can just get back to the continent, because that's where I feel like my heart is. And I've had a complete change of mindset in regards to, going to the continent and looking for a job. So for me, one of my projects, I've got a healthcare project that I'm working on at the moment. So that's basically where I sort of mobilize people from around the world who have skills, whether they're students or whether they're qualified healthcare professionals who want to gain experience in Africa, or they, just want to make a contribution with regards to developing the health system in Rwanda. Specifically, I'm working in Rwanda at the moment, or my goal is to facilitate development in Rwanda, but my plan is to eventually expand on that. Someone said, what business? I'm not sure what question you're asking, But I just spoke about a health project that I'm working on at the moment. I'm actually negotiating some contracts, and I'm looking for anybody who's interested in healthcare in Africa, specifically Rwanda at the moment, who may want to gain experience in the healthcare setting, or want to provide any teaching or training. That's something that I'm currently working on. So I am wanting to connect with people who are interested in the healthcare sector. Another idea of mine is that I'm going into agribusiness. Actually, when I was in Rwanda, I've already started a small project there. So yes, I'm working on agribusiness, and as soon as I can get back to Rwanda, I will be pushing with my agribusiness, and again, creating opportunities for young people and women, disadvantaged communities. Those are my targets. I'm wanting to improve the livelihoods of those people in disadvantaged communities, and so that basically they can also provide for their family. So that's another project I'm also working on. So much of my projects is about job creation on the continent in Rwanda. Marvelous. Explain what you meant by what business. I hope I'm sort of explaining when I'm telling you about the businesses that I'm working on. So I talked about a healthcare project, and also I'm into agri business as well. That's something that's new to me, but I'm learning and I'm willing to learn. Healthcare. I'm a physiotherapist. I'm a qualified physiotherapist. That's my background, but I also hold a master's in global health and international development. So we're having some new people join the live, and again, the topic is that basically foreigners are coming to Africa and they are creating jobs, but the diaspora, we tend to be job seekers. So I just want to hear from anyone out there who has an opinion to share on the matter. I'll send out the link again, and I'm hoping that one of you will join me and share your thoughts. I would really appreciate this to be interactive, because I don't want to end the live just like that, just me talking. I really just want to hear from some of you out there. What you may have to share on the topic may be actually valuable for others also listening in. And I'm open to sort of learn and take on new ideas. So if anyone has an opinion to share, I'd really appreciate it if you could call in and let us know your thoughts. I'd really appreciate that. Bear with me. Okay, so I talked about healthcare, I talked about agribusiness. I'm also currently working on a real estate business with a local Rwandese. Again, see, that's a job creation, and I'm hoping that will expand so I can also recruit more Rwandese on the ground who need jobs. So that's where I'm encouraging people from the diaspora to invest in Rwanda. So whether that's like buying houses or buying land. So that's a project I'm working on. And, if anybody is interested to, buy land or houses in Rwanda, then you can always send me a message directly, and I can always guide you with that. So guys, it seems like I may have to end this live sooner than I expected, because I was expecting a bit more engagement, but at the moment I'm sort of doing a lot of the talking. So yeah, so that's something I'm working on, as I just said. Can anyone sort of share with me if they're moving to the continent? Are they wanting to create any business ideas? Have they moved to the continent? And, what are you doing on the continent if you're already there on the continent or planning to go to the continent? What are you planning to do, and how do you plan to perhaps create jobs? Is that a route that you're going down, or are you first going down the route of trying to find a job? If you've got any questions for me, you can send your questions through and I will do my best to answer your questions. So if you can send them in the comments, then I'm happy to answer those questions as best as you can as we wait for potentially one person to at least join us and share their views on the topic. So if you've got any questions, please go ahead and type them out in the comment section for me. Okay. The question, I guess, is why did you choose Rwanda? So basically, I was actually going to move to Ghana, and this was back in 2014. But I met my husband, who happened to be Rwandese, and I visited Rwanda. Rwanda's clean. Rwanda's easy to do business. I love how the country is developing. I always feel safe when I'm in Rwanda. And so, for those reasons, I have chosen Rwanda, but I'm open to doing business with other African countries. And I do want to start in Rwanda, but I'm hoping to expand as time goes on. I just want to start in Rwanda and sort of perfect things in Rwanda. And then from there, once I feel very comfortable, then I want to expand to, for example, Ghana. I love Ghana. That was the first African country I visited, and I fell in love with Ghana, and Ghana still feels to me like home. I've actually got friends in Ghana. Actually, I've got a friend who's opened a B&B in Ghana, and she's actually a Jamaican lady. She's doing really, really well. I actually joked with her and I said to her, "Oh, are you thinking about coming back to the UK?" And she's like, "Kerry-Ann, what for? I've got everything I want here in Ghana. Her business is booming. She's got sunshine. She doesn't have much stress." She's just like, "There's no way I'm coming back to the UK unless I need to handle some sort of business." I'm seeing people joining here. Welcome to the live. I really appreciate you being here. Today's topic: foreigners are creating jobs in Africa, but the diaspora tend to be job seekers. And I'm really interested to know your thoughts on this particular topic. I'm wanting someone to actually call in and share your thoughts with the rest of us. We have been a little bit slow, but I'm hoping that someone will call in and share your thoughts with us here. I'm sending out the invite. So yeah, marvelous. I hope that answered your question as to why I chose Rwanda. So we've got Marvin here. Hello, Marvin. How are you?
I'm good. And yourself?
Oh, let's see.
Can you hear me?
Hi, I can hear you. Marvin, we spoke before, I believe.
Yes, just give me a sec.
Oh, perfect. And you're calling in from the USA, right?
Pardon?
You're calling in from the USA. Oh,
nah, no, I'm in London.
Sorry. Yeah, you're from the UK. I'm really sorry. Yes, I remember now. Please bear with me.
That's fine. Sorry, what was the topic again? Sorry, let me just set up my mind.
Yeah. I'm saying, foreigners are creating jobs in Africa, but the diaspora tend to be job seekers. So okay. I'm interested to know your thoughts on that.
Sure. The reason for that actually is the education system. For years in the diaspora, the school system have taught us how to be employees, and we were not taught that, as I always say to people, we were not taught about money, the way money works and the economic system, because what white people did was that they removed the racist white supremacist act, and then they put in what I would call a white system or white justice. So being that they created that type of system now, they made us follow a system to just work with it. So they wanted us to be employees. So in school now, all they teach us how to become employees. And because our parents saw that there was a loophole or a reward in that aspect, our parents as well went followed that system and trained us that, guess what? You go to school, get an education, you can become a lawyer or a doctor, and that was it. It was not much parents that would sit down and say to their kids, you should become an entrepreneur, work for yourself. So when you see the people in America or in England or in Europe or in Canada, they want to now leave the shackles of economic slavery. A lot of them don't know what to do. A lot of them just think of, hey, let me go look for work. So basically, they're trying to move from one master to another. And it's not saying that the African people will be, their master. It's just the saying that they still have a slavery mentality, a mindset, laissez-faire attitude, if that makes sense. So
Totally.
they now need to sit down and start, seeing if they're really good at business and understanding certain things. Because if a lot of people who are in the diaspora, if they cannot manage $20, 20 pounds, how can they actually really run a business as well? So, these are some things that's really pressuring them. And that's why the easier step for them, the easier route is to say, hey, let me go into Africa and see what job I can get. Because the system as well has made so much of them lazy, and it's been like that from birth. And, now that people's eyes are opening, I think gradually everyone will start thinking about, listen, let's become entrepreneurs. Because if you're on the continent, then you have the whole world at your hands, where you can sell your product, so you can ship your product to, and you can make money. But again, much people don't know about these things. In the diaspora, they don't really, they haven't been open to seeing the vision. They see the vision of freedom, the vision of moving on, but not the vision of saying, hey, I can be an entrepreneur, I can own my own. And it's very, very crazy that, that's how it's been for years with us, when we, from school days, and our parents just encourage us to go to this route.
No, you've made a very interesting point, because I remember when I was doing my undergrad, and a lot of us finished at that time, and it was really a struggle to find jobs, and there was an article that came out about the fact that we lack entrepreneurial skills, and that was a real big problem. And but then again, we didn't get any sort of training during our course to say, how do we become entrepreneurs, how do we create our own opportunities. And so obviously for a lot of us, that was a big limiting factor. And as you've said, this has been going on for years, where a lot of us, we only feel safe when we're being employed, but stepping outside the box and creating those job opportunities tend to be a big barrier for many of us. And what do you think it will take? Yes, it takes a mindset change, but is it more than that? What needs to happen, do you think?
Well, you see, that's the thing. My opinions are we need to go back to basics. I've always told people that we need to go back to taking the risk. We need to go back to doing the sacrifices. We need to go back to creating the Underground Railroad. I keep repeating it to people, because this is what I look at. After World War II, people from the Commonwealth countries, they left their homes and they came into the UK. They didn't know where they were going to work, where they were going to eat, where they were going to sleep, but they just took the leap. And this is what I'm looking at now, that people just needs to say, listen, let's go back to the Underground Railroad, that you go into Africa, you find out what people are looking to buy, what people are looking to sell, or what services they need. Or I see somebody made a comment in the topic where they said, what jobs does Africa need to develop? And these are the things you go and you look to see. Because this is what a lot of people don't realize, is that The best business concept is solving a problem. It's not looking for a profit. It's always about solving a problem. That's where you create a good business concept. A lot of people go into business for money, and that's where you fail because you start thinking about money, 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 money. You don't think about the marketing strategy, who are your clients, your branding, anything. When you go into a business and you start to think, how can I solve a problem? And people in this world are always filled with problems, unfortunately. So this is where you're trying to go in. And this is what I think we need to do, is that do the Underground Railroad again, point out, okay, you're into your medical thing. Okay, I know someone. I know a place that you should go and check. Go see this village, see what's going on. See if you can get a piece of land there to put a clinic on. That kind of hookup.
That's exactly my plan. So I've been connecting with people on the ground in Rwanda. I've gone to communities to actually find out what issues are on the ground. The bigger plan is actually to, build a rehabilitation clinic. That's very necessary. Disabilities on the rise in Africa. There are a lack of institutions to support people with disabilities. So this is something that I'm trying to do, but obviously it's a lot. But I need to connect with people who are also having that mindset to say, right, let's go and do something. Let's work together rather than trying to look for a job like on the continent. But in trying to bring about a solution, as you said, we can create a job, but you may not get anything initially, but in the long term, we will start to see the benefits. So connecting with those type of people, it's different. Like it's a challenge.
Yes, because one of the things with people in the diaspora, they want to see things ready made. You have to see the psychology to this. The reason why a lot of African people will want to pack their bags is not only because they can get a start in America or the international countries. It's because they see that the system is already made, it's already been created, and they just need to hop on. You understand? So, like, when I speak to a lot of my people in my circle that I know, I tell them, listen, why is it that Black people want to see things ready made, but they don't really want to go and create it? It's very few want to do it. And this is how we've been brainwashed. People in the diaspora, they will only listen when they see something. They need to see the example. This is why a lot of YouTube channels is up now. Like, you could tell somebody, you could tell them certain things about Africa. They'll be like, no, they want to see it. And it's crazy. It's so crazy to me. Like, why is it that when the white people say, okay, listen, we're going to develop the East Coast of the West Coast of America, in some bush place, in Alabama or one of these places, you'll see they will get up and move. I remember when Chicago and these places in the North will pour our shit, and then all they did was put 1 and 2 places for industrial work to take place, and tons of Black people moved there. When those companies closed down, now it's one of the extremely poor places in America. All of a sudden, they don't know what to do. They're like, chickens without no head, because they want to see things going on. And it's all of these things that it just needs to change. It needs to completely change.
No,
and the only sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, go on. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah,
No,
the only way it can change is if we come and do the Underground Railroad again. And for the past 10 years, the problem has been because white people has opened a few doors where that now we can have interracial relationships, we can do business with them, we can do business with Chinese. All of a sudden, we've just decided to forget about each other. We've stopped the Underground Railroad. I remember years ago, if you flew over to America and you wanted a job, you just go in the Jamaican community would hook you up, because they would have 2 or 3 jobs and know people who was offering more jobs. Now, if you go there, you on your own, you will have to struggle and go on the internet. The same thing when you came to London, you could have found a brother or a sister that would hook you up and get you work. Now you have to go to the job center. Until now, they closed down the job centers. That's to show you how much we've gotten relaxed on a laissez-faire attitude.
But you know what? A question that's sort of coming to my mind is that, a lot of the diaspora seems to be positive with regards to wanting to move back to the continent. But then again, if enough of us don't have that mindset with regards to, creating jobs on the continent and sort of linking and working together, are we really going to make that impact. So that's my thoughts, you know. Yes, I'm going there to do my bit and my contributions, but if enough of us don't have that mentality, is it that, you know, things won't progress as it needs to, or you will get some people who come to Africa because you know, they didn't get that employment opportunity. They now say, you know, I'm going back. Because earlier on in the channel I was saying, I'm one of my friends, I met her in Ghana, and she was telling me how she was struggling because she couldn't find a job, you know, and eventually she ended up coming back to the UK again. My friend went to Nigeria, similar story. She was there trying to find a job, and then eventually came back to the UK. And I just thought, well, if these people only thought, you know, if only their mindset were different and they thought, well, let me see the problems on the ground and what solutions I can bring, because these are people who are, you know, they've got skills, they're talented, they're brilliant, they're educated, but still they weren't able to bring anything forth to benefit their country. So I don't know your thoughts on that. Sorry, I've spoken.
Yeah, no, that's I'm listening. Cutting on what you said, firstly, yes, Africa will have a slow growth, especially East Africa. East Africa has been through a lot, and one of the key aspects is that East Africa has lost a lot of people. From Zimbabwe, that produced the most educated people, and they all ran away once again, because that's the thing a lot of Black people are good at, running away. And I laugh at it a lot, you know. I laugh at it so much because when we ran away, including myself, obviously, but I wouldn't say I ran away. I just took some steps because I still stay connected with my countries. But when we ran away, we sit down and then we look at all this, what's going on back home, and then we criticize and ask people how they can live there when we cannot even make changes in the international countries. But to stick on to the topic is that East Africa lost a lot of people, Zimbabwe, Mozambique, and these places. That's why right now West Africa is booming, because what West Africa has is the economical activity. You have Portugal that's doing, you have Angola that's doing pretty good because they're actually taking over Portugal. You have Nigeria doing well because they have a large population. The city of Lagos has over 10 million people. You're looking at, if you can get a business idea that you can get $1 from everyone at least a week, you're smiling. Now, these statistics and these numbers are what the average individual who is living the diaspora is not looking at. People want to move to Ghana. They don't know what's the population of Accra. They don't even know how much, you know, how much was it, constituency or villages? Well, I don't know what they use in Ghana, but they don't even know, you know, how much villages or areas there is. You know, it's a numbers game. They don't understand economics. So when you say that they're illiterate and then they go down to Africa to get a job, of course you will not get a job. The African people mindset is sharp. You cannot play with Africans. They've been for the worst. They've been for the worst. Yeah, you can. You go for a job and someone is there before you are ready, and their mouth is sweet. You walk in there all nice, relaxed, thinking, yeah, I'm from England, I'm going to get it. Good luck. Good luck.
No, it's true. You should say that, because even sometimes I think we underestimate the people on the ground in Africa. Some, you know, when I've been to Ghana or even Rwanda, you know, in the healthcare setting, you know, I'm learning from some of those guys because they're so knowledgeable, you know, and I'm like, whoa, you know. And so you will find that there's a lot of surprises for us on the ground if we go with a particular mindset, as you say, because they are sharp, because they have to be to even maintain their positions, you know. So that's a really interesting point. And you know, you said something about knowing the figures. Is it that we need to do more our research and, you know, visit the countries that we're interested to perhaps go and invest in before we take that big leap, you know? So that's what I'm thinking, that research. Because even me now, like when I went to like Rwanda, like I did have a plan, but now I think I've put together a business plan, you know, to really kind of look and analyze different areas, and it just helps to kind of you know, possibly make my businesses more successful, as opposed to kind of just diving in and not knowing, you know, the numbers, as you say. So
Yep.
definitely, I feel like we need to do our research and not just think. You know, those people on the ground, they're very, very sharp. And what I've actually learned is that there's so much you can learn from people on the ground, because sometimes you're hearing the diaspora actually, you know, sometimes the way we talk, it's like we're more, a little bit more superior. But there's so much I've learned from the people on the ground that's helped me to facilitate my business ideas. It's unreal, you know. So don't underestimate that. Don't underestimate the people on the ground, because, you know, even that guy that's living in the village, you know, I've worked with people in villages, you know, that have contributed in some way towards the development of my business ideas. So yeah.
Yeah, and like finishing off what you said, this is the thing that a lot of people, this is why they go in there and they're looking for jobs. This thing, moving to Africa, has just become a lust or desire for them, because they know they'll reach home and it will end racism. But what they don't realize is that it's not going to end hunger. It's not going to end your economical situation when you move to Africa. All that you're cutting out is just racism. At the end of the day, you still have to eat, you still have to work. So those people, or every individual in the diaspora, needs to change their mindset and say, listen, this here, we need to learn economics, we need to know history, and we need to know the psychology or that of the country, because every African country has been through a different situation of whether it was wars, poverty, and white supremacy. So we now need to understand the cycle of that country, how it's working, to find a niche of ideas that we have to go in there. And when we go in there also now, when we understand that country that we choose, we will also see the culture that goes with it and see, can we live with that culture? Can we act that culture? Can we bond with that culture? But most people who are moving to Africa, they just say, okay, Ghana, Nigeria, yeah, black people there. Okay, let's pack our bags and go. We'll get work probably because, you know, it's my brother, my sister will hook me up. Or, yes, we're from America and we can get job. Yeah, you're from America or from England. You speak, you know, a bit of decent English and you might have an idea of, yeah, what's the latest going on. But, and I said might, because obviously African people, they're always up to date with the dress codes and the vehicles and so on. So, you know, again, they're just trapped thinking that. But when you reach there now, not knowing certain things, at the end of the day, of course, you're going to struggle. You're going to suffer. And it's the wrong move that a lot of persons make. This is why I think that the growth will be slow in East. But the West will grow quickly. West Africa will grow amazing, because even now they're trying to fight. I think the countries that was using the CDF, look, they're trying to fight. They might not win the fight in our generation to own their currency, but you're looking at least, if 2 generations die off soon, there will be a new set of mindsets that will be birthed that will say, listen, we need to run our shit now. And then, you know, West Africa will improve. What I like about East for the time being, even though it's quiet, is that whilst it's quiet, sooner or later it will start growing, and whoever invests now, their children will be making money. Because look at Mozambique, that has the longest coastline in Africa. Do you know how much beautiful beaches that place would have for resorts? And you could do beachfront properties that's untouched. But everybody's still wants to go to Nigeria and Gambia and these places. And I've seen the beach there on the internet. It doesn't look too healthy for me. I've seen what's going on in East Africa and I'm loving it. When you look at Zimbabwe, that's I think it was named after the land of stones. The architecture, the things that's there for people to really build some lovely houses there around lakes and so on. It has the potential. But it's going to be a slow potential from what I'm watching.
Sorry, yeah, you said it's going to be a slow potential.
Yeah. In my opinion, that is. In my opinion, for the East for now.
No, I was talking about this yesterday, and I was saying, like, I feel like there's so much focus on West Africa, but I really want people to also think about East Africa as well, like your Tanzania, Rwanda, you know. I'm not hearing like, you know, people talking that it's not on the map as such, but Rwanda is on the map, definitely. But I'm hearing like a lot more about, you know, Gambia,
because it's a numbers
Nigeria,
game.
Ghana, you know, everybody seems to be focused there. But I want to also
Yes.
influence some of you guys to come over to Rwanda. You know, I'm planning to be back in Rwanda as soon as I can. Realistically, maybe the end of this year. So I'm inviting those of you who want to sort of come and explore Rwanda. Rwanda is beautiful, you know. Obviously, it has a history and it's done tremendously. You know, but every year when I go back, there's something new happening in Rwanda. Like, you know, obviously the country is criticized, but for me, Paul Kagame is doing an amazing job. You know, he's someone who whatever he says is happening. You go there, you see it, and you know you are starting to see that change, and people are benefiting from that. And yeah, I just wish more people would actually focus their, you know, some attention to East Africa as well. Um, I just wanted to ask, actually, where are you from? And you know, because you said obviously you traveled, you've been there and come back. So I just wanted to
Pardon?
know where you spoke about, you know, going to Africa and coming back, and I just wanted to know where
No,
you
no, no, I'm not
went
from
and where
Africa.
you're.
I'm not from Africa. South America, Caribbean, and America I've lived.
Ah, okay. Sorry, I thought you
Yeah.
said you've gone to Africa and come back. Are you
No, no,
planning
no.
to
I'm planning to,
relocate?
yeah, I'm just doing my homework properly, and I'm researching every single country first, because I'm doing a long, well, my journey is extremely long. That's why. Because I'm still setting up some business back in the Caribbean, and then I want to do in South America. And what I'm doing is buying property in south of Europe, so that way I can have an easy access into Africa, go in and come out. And
Oh, I
also, what I've realized is that Europe cannot feed itself, because when you're doing business, you have to focus on numbers. Always focus. That's how you know how much profit you can make. That's why a lot of people move to West Africa. Nigeria has one of the biggest economy. As I said, the city of Lagos alone is 10 million people. 10 million.
oh yes. Oh, the
So,
population in
so
Nigeria
s-
is huge.
right. So think that Burna Boy goes there and he sells 1 million songs. He's still broke. He's still poor because there's 9 million other people that hasn't listened to his stuff or bought him. But an American singer who sells 1 million, oh, he's the shit. He's the biggest thing in America, and he only did 1 million. So you see, there's a difference. So when people do business, they look at numbers, and I've learned that, and that's what I look at as well. But when I realized that, hey, you know what? Africa has a lot of land, and it's one of the key things. The greatest wars were fought over land. Land has been a very
Oh
key
yeah.
aspect, and it will continue. Europe
The
cannot
scramble
feed
for
itself.
Africa.
Right, that's correct. That's why the East is so messed up, because the East has always been the most important scrambled for years. You know, Ethiopia and all these places, the Kingdom of Kush. It has been, that's why it has been so unstable, and a lot of people ran away. That's why the economy now is so small. So these are the things I sat down, I kept doing my research towards, that I looked at all the numbers of all the countries, the population that's there, but also how can you get things outside of Africa? Because when Ethiopia was one of the, or the Kingdom of Kush was one of the biggest empire because of the Nile River. People could have traded. The Arabs came in as traders. So you see, even if we have our own that we can depend on to make money from, I still believe that we should still focus on the international market as well. Cut them out and let us be the main persons. Let us be the hookup. You know, it's too much that we have other people putting their hands in our food, you know, in our pot. It's not good. It's too risky. So when we do these things, in my opinion, it's going to be much better for us to grow, for us to do things, because it's like, if we let other people control our mindset, control our growth, then they much for left for us to do anything. So when I started doing all those maths within myself, within my mindset, I figured out, okay, you need property in Europe, because why? You don't want them to control your factories. You don't want them to control your storage centers. That's what you don't want them to do. You want to be the direct, have your own base, because Chinese have bases in Africa. When you look at Puerto Rico, why is Puerto Rico an American state? It's a base. Why is it America loves Singapore? It's a base. But African people are not looking to put bases. Everyone is just looking to move from America straight into Africa. And I say I have no problem with that. But okay, if you're going to look for employment, why fly all the way back to America? Why not have a base in Portugal? You fly over to Portugal, you go beg for some work, and then you keep sending on your money and your ideas right into Africa. You can drive from Portugal straight into Gambia. You can drive from Portugal straight into Senegal. You can start somewhere. And these are the strategic methods that I look at. You understand? For my journey. If I'm doing my journey on my ones and my own, then no problem. If I'm doing as a team, then I'd go like a crazy person. But when you're doing things on your own, you have to do it step by step. You have to do the maths. So this is why I tell my brothers every day, stop looking for someone else's table to sit at. Stop being comfortable eating at someone else's establishment. Establish things yourself. Be alone for a while in the wilderness. Be alone until things work for you. You cannot be comfortable with people, and then when things get critical, then you start to, become negative towards these things. So if you have a team, as I just said, then you can go into Africa full force without looking left or right. But if you're going on your own, you need to create safety nets, but not a safety net for you to run away, just for a safety net to just say, hey, I'm taking a rest. And that's why I decided to say, let me do something first in the south of Europe, which will also help future businesses idea, but also make sure that secure and I can grow properly at the end of the day. Because there's a lot of things that I've been seeing that, there's this Italian company I just realized last week, for some reason they're advertising that they're doing cocoa puree. And I'm thinking, but Italy doesn't grow cocoa. So basically we just gave Italians our stuff to brand it in their country when we could have had a factory and give the Eastern Europeans work. It's very simple. The Eastern Europeans are ready to work.
Across the continent, though.
Pardon?
That's a big problem across the continent. The fact that these things are exported to like you've got like gold that could be also refined within, for example, Ghana actually is exported somewhere else and refined there. So that's where the big money is at. So basically we need sort of companies within, for example, Ghana, who can refine the gold, to create jobs within the country. Before I continue, just want to welcome everybody that's joining the live with us here. And the topic is basically foreigners are creating jobs in Africa, but the diaspora tend to be job seekers. And that's what we're talking about here today. If you've got anything you'd like to share with us, I have shared the link. I can always share it again. And, you can come in and share your thoughts with us. I just wanted to know, actually, so where do you think you may relocate to? I love the fact also, before you answer that, a good point you spoke about, which has really resonated with myself, is when you're moving to the continent or whichever country you're moving to, really strategizing so that you can be flexible if needed. And I think that's one of your points that you really made, which really stood out to me as well, was having a strategy in place. Because as you say, many people would just want to move just like that. But, what is your strategy? And if you don't have a strategy in place, potentially you're going to find it very difficult to maneuver. And you may even end up running back to wherever you came from because you didn't have a strategy. You didn't strategize properly, basically. So saying that, I just want you to tell me, where do you think you relocate to? Like what's it looking like at the moment?
For me, so far, I love East Africa. So what my focus was to do two things. Well, currently what I'm working on is two things. Owning property in Portugal. I have in Bulgaria already. So that means I will use the Bulgaria to go into the east part, Portugal or Worst scenario, Spain. Worst case scenario. But for now, my focus is on Portugal and yeah, cheaper taxes. You know, they're a small country, so they respect your business when you import goods to send into England and the other countries. If you know, I manage to grow in my ideas. So for the East Coast, I was looking at between Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, and Uganda. Why? Because they're creating it's called the Eastern African States.
That's correct. That's
You're
correct.
right. So that means their population is going to grow. You're looking at these 3 to 4 countries now will be the same size and economy as Nigeria. So when those three, when those 3 come together, or 3 to 4, they will expand, because I think probably Sudan might not join in anytime soon, because you know they have obviously the Muslims to the north, and it's a whole other bunch of crap. But you're looking at Tanzania. I think what's it called? Burundi. What's the other one called? Burundi, right? Rwanda, Kenya, and Uganda. You know, I think that they'll be a good spot because they have a coastline as well, and they will have the population. So for the East Coast is one of these countries. For the West Coast, now I'm still thinking, because Nigeria is a lot of competition, but it has the population. So for me, I'm still trying to study. Okay, I need somewhere small. Because if you notice, the reason I wanted to do Portugal is not small countries tend to have a better leeway for you. When you go into a big country where it's already ready-made, you have to go through all sorts of drama. If you go to Nigeria, it's going to be all sorts of paperwork and headache. And, you know, for me, if West Coast, it will have to be Benin, Togo, or Gambia, Guinea-Bissau, one of those small places. But I'm looking at, again, how can you get access to the population, the large population of, let's say, Nigeria, for you to sell your products, or even open shops to start franchises and so on. Because what you want to do is just spark the mindset of few Africans, just a few, and then you can create a brand. When you create that brand, you can send it all across Africa to the main countries. You're looking at South Africa, you'll do good in with your brand. Why do I keep saying Portugal? Angola, you'll be doing good with your brand there. And then you obviously have Nigeria and Ghana that you can do good with your brand. And then you take your brand over to Kenya and Tanzania, and hopefully Mozambique and Zimbabwe. Because these are key countries with the numbers.
You're thinking big, and I love it. I think more of us need to be thinking that way.
Yes, you know? Strategically, we need to.
Strategizing and thinking big when we're doing things, not just thinking, you know, right, okay, this small thing I'm going to do on the side. No, when you're coming to the continent, I really think that you need to, you know, go big or don't bring it at all.
That's correct.
You know, that's how I think, you know, but I could be wrong in my thinking. Tell me.
No, it's the right way to think, because I will tell you, when people say America, they say the United States of America. They stress on it. We are a bunch of states. People discuss the EU, and everybody says the European Union, 27, 28 countries. That's how they say it. Now, listen to this. Russia is trying to regroup the USSR again. Russia has gone over to Georgia and all of these countries right now and signed a trading contract. Whilst we're worried about this corona thing, that's what they're doing. China now, right, has all the other countries around it, like they have people in Thailand and so on, where they do trading. The reason why Thailand right now, China wants to get Hong Kong back, because England and America takes the wealth of China through Hong Kong. So you see, there is a network, and people think big. They create this web. But when we go into Africa, we just think of a country. We don't think of the web. We have to put our mindset to that. That listen, this is a continent. Out of 55 countries, we have access to at least 50. I mean, let's leave the North Africans for now. You know, they're still angry. You know, their culture. You know, the culture has been traumatized by the French. the Arabs, the Italians. So for now, they're a bit unstable mentally, but they're doing the thing. They're okay. I respect that, but let's focus on the 50 for now. And then now we divide the 50 to what we can handle as an individual. I mean, if you have a team, then you go big, you know, and you go crazy. But if it's yourself alone, you strategize what 2 or 3 countries that you can eat a food from, because all you want to get is just, you know, a few vans, and then you move about. Because I mean, one of the key things that Europe and America have is a railway system. Africa doesn't really have that yet, but it is developing. Like in East Africa, where you're going, that's coming soon, because I think they're starting to do it with Ethiopia already. So they're creating that. But meanwhile, they don't have that. We as the individual need to think, hey, there's vehicles you can drive from one country to the next. It's very simple. It's not rocket science that, okay, I don't want to be in Nigeria. Let me go to the closest country where that I can bring things in from Europe or bring equipment in from China, and the duties are less. As once it's close to, you create it, people will come to you. That's the concept Dubai did. Dubai, the Arabs said, listen, we build it, people will come. The place was a desert 38 years ago. They built things, people came. So if you have a good medical business that you're doing in East Africa and you do it correctly, and then, you know, the states combine, people will come towards you because the network is there, and you just show them how to get to you after a while. They will make their way once you create it. But a lot of us, like, you know, the topic says, we don't make these plans. We just pop up in Africa looking for jobs because why? We're brainwashed. You know, our mindset is not on the correct path. We're just so disabled. The school system taught us bad, and you know, we just not there yet. All we see is black people in Africa, and we want to go there.
But
sorry, go ahead.
You know, it's good to have conversations like this, because I really believe it opens up, you know, our mindset, and you know, even like the contributions I feel like that I'm getting from you. Even for me, I'm also like, you know, wow, he's really speaking truth. And you know, like even for me starting my business in Rwanda, like for example, healthcare, I'm starting in Rwanda, but it's not limited to Rwanda. So you know what I mean? I've got Uganda, and I've been to Uganda before. You've got Kenya, you know, Tanzania, Burundi. So I'm starting just with Rwanda, but eventually I'm going to branch out, and that's about building networks, you know. But I was going to say that, you know, some of us, we're scared to even build networks with each other, much less, you know, further afield. So what do you, you know, is it that barrier, like we're scared to take risks with our own as well, that prevents from, no, talk to me a bit about that.
Yeah, all right. When it comes to
join, you stay where you are. I'll just, if anybody does want to join, please feel free to call in. I've sent out the link several times. You're welcome to join us. If you have anything to share on this topic, please do go ahead and call in. So yes, so my question is, you know, around, you know, us, how we feel networking with each other, on doing even business with each other. Are we scared to take that risk? What do you think about that?
You back on me?
Yes, sorry.
Oh,
yes,
yeah,
sorry.
Okay. Yeah.
Marvin, sorry.
The thing is, this is what I think. When it comes to doing businesses with each other, our problem is poor judgment of character. That's what we the individuals suffering. If I see you are struggling, okay, why would I want to come and do a business proposal to you where you have to come and spend money into my business when you cannot even afford to take care of yourself? A lot of African people, this is what I was just explaining early on, they just see black. They don't look at the psychology to the situation or the person's living condition. A lot of African people and people in the diaspora, they just have poor judgment of character. They meet anyone and they just want to go do business with anyone. And you need to know some. Look at how white people do it, or Chinese. They bring you into the home, they sit down and they ask you questions. Are you married? To see how stable you are. Oh, do you have any drinking problems? Are you a Christian? To see that What is that end point where they might lose you? Would they lose you to the gambling? Would they lose you to the women? Would they lose you to, the drugs? They question you. That's why when you see there's a scandal, you see 5, 6 of them in the same scandal, because they know their problem and they comfort each other's problem. Okay, your problem is women, we have a place where you can go quietly. Your problem is gambling, we have a place where you can go quietly. But African people, they see a black brother and they just say, oh, my brother, your idea is good, mine is good, let's do business. If you do not set a foundation and have a proper conversation and build a relationship, a business is like a baby. And this is where the argument comes from between black people, poor judgment of character. You cannot expect to go do business with someone that's struggling or starving. Of course, they're going to rob you. When they see the loose money, something is going to happen. And for me, this is why I always tell people that, listen, set standards for yourself, create your own circle, and learn to read people before you do any business. School them, have an interview, because when you meet someone, you're meeting their representative. So you need to properly sit down, throw certain stones to see if they will catch or they will duck those stones. You understand? If they tell you they don't drink, say, don't worry, I'm paying, then you know, okay, that person is actually a drinker. You have to give them the interview. And this is the thing with a lot of black people, we don't do. We just see a brother or see a sister and put them on. You have to remember, not everyone that carries the skin color of us is disciplined as us and working for us. There are a lot of black people who are mentally unstable and they're not educated as much as us in certain areas. They might be in one area, but they're not in another. So you kind of just pull them into your circle. You have to create a circle, create a foundation, and know that there's steps. Just like how you'd go into a relationship with a man or a woman where you have your rules or your criteria to do this relationship. It's the same way you have to do it for even if you want to borrow someone $1. You have that rule to it. So a lot of us, we don't put that. And this is where the disagreement, in my opinion, comes. Because for years, when I have done business with people, and things went south, I sat down and I analyzed the problem. Okay, money went missing. Why? Because this person had a problem where he wants to take out this girl or spend money to impress this girl. Did I really see that brother had that weakness? No. I just thought about the money, the business situation, and the profit. So obviously now I have to pay for my negligence. Yeah. Right. So, but the average individual now will say, oh boy, black people, look at them. They can't stick together. Oh, look at us. We can't do no. We can't. No, it's poor judgment of character, because there are black people who stick together. Go to the Nation of Islam and see how tight they are. You think you can go and see Farrakhan without having making a appointment, and without Farrakhan people doing a whole background check on who you are, why you coming into his building? You understand? So these things that we need to do as an individual, you need to create your fortress, secure your fortress, protect your fortress, and carry out tasks. You cannot just see someone and then go and say, oh, you're black. No, you have to give them the interview, and you have to make sure, you have that time frame where, yes, we're friends. Because personally, me, when I change my circle, I don't bring anyone to my house. Period. We meet outside. You're not coming to see where I live or how I live. No, we're taking things in steps. You have to earn being my friend. I don't care if you're darker than dark or what until you turn blue. No, there's rules to this. And if I have to do business with you, it's the same thing. There's rules to this. If not, I tell you, listen, this is not your position. I have places where I will not carry my black friends with me. I have places that I would go, I will not carry my white friends with me, because I've learned that there's a time and a place for everything, and I've understood the psychology to it. But black people, a lot of us don't take these things seriously. We just look and we see color and we call it a day. This is why a lot of people in the diaspora, they fail as well, because they just see Africa, they see dark, and they say, listen, I'm going to go there, things is going to happen. They don't think that, you know what, if you go to Lagos, it's a capital, there might be some people that need to pay rent. So as soon as you come off that plane, they're waiting for you to see how they can hustle you and get that money. It's not their fault. It's just that the situation that they're living in. So when you go there, you have to be prepared for them. So it's the same way, because all of these things happens all over the world. It's human behavior. We cannot fight it. But a lot of us, we don't want to understand it. We just see color. That's all we see. And we need to change that.
I think you've made some valid points, with regards to the fact that, you don't just, see someone and just say, oh, because they're Black, let's do business. It's about laying down the foundation, setting your standards. And then when someone shows an interest, then vetting that person, because you may not know the intentions of that person. And if you don't take the time to really know what they're about, you may end up having to pay the consequences later on, because you failed to, to look at the very key elements in the very beginning, and even as you're going along, before you say, actually, I can let this person into my space. I think sometimes, yes, you're right. That's where sometimes we tend to go wrong. And it's definitely something that we need to think about when we're thinking about, doing business on the continent. Not everybody that arrives at the airport is for you, and is there to support you along your journey and for your business to be successful. So I think that's something, a very important point that you've expressed here. Someone saying, how come Africans on the continent are still not facilitating or doing something to help create employment opportunities for themselves, or to help diasporas to create employment opportunities? I don't know the full answer to that, but basically I do know, like, in Rwanda, there's actually Africans there who have created job opportunities, and I'm actually working with some Rwandans at the moment to create further opportunities. But I obviously, people are on the ground trying their best with what they have. So, we also have to reach out to those people already on the continent, because there's a lot also we can learn from them as well. So that's how we're going to come together and perhaps create opportunities. So I hope that answers your question. Again, if anybody has anything to share, please feel free to join us here. Happy to welcome you.
But can I jump on that? Because yes, I have not been to Africa, but from looking on the outside, they are creating jobs. Again, you see, yes, the brother doesn't realize that you have to look at Africa as anywhere else. If I'm going to create a job, don't you think I want to hire my family first before I hire strangers? Like, I'm going to hire my cousins first, and, my in-laws. It's the same thing. Jobs are there. This is what we were just saying earlier on. It are there. But a cousin will have the sweetest mouth and say, uncle, listen, I can do this job. Don't worry, I'll be the best. You know where I live. I'll come to work every day on time. That cousin or that nephew or, that in-law mouth is so sweet that they might not have the qualifications and they will get that job. People hire. This is why the politics is messed up in Africa and all of the countries. When Idi Amin took over Uganda, he put his family members. It happens in business. That's what's going on in Africa. There are tons of jobs, but ain't nobody looking and saying, oh, let me go hire, someone in the diaspora. No, not unless it's a situation of where they gone to the point of extreme where they're fed up and they, they're like, I give up. Let me just go find someone. No. On a day-to-day basis, they're thinking, okay, let me give this job to a friend of a friend or my cousin, because one, they're going to earn points, and two, they're doing what I just said. They're keeping the circle tight. If I hire Jimmy, that I know his uncle, that means I know how to find him. That means now if I want a favor from his uncle who has land, I can get that favor, that circle. When you're in the diaspora, what can you do for me when I hire you after that? Nothing. If I fall sick, what can you do? You just move to Africa. You have no idea. Why must I look out for you, basically? Business is business at the end of the day. You cannot put business and race situation together. No, people are in a business trying to make a profit and what's going to help them grow. So that's why when people from the diaspora move back to Africa, they struggle. And they don't realize this happens in America as well. People hire their family as well. The only reason why foreigners really do get a job is the jobs that the family members don't want to do. No born American wants to go clean a toilet. No born American wants to go do, the McDonald's job. Same thing happens in the UK. people who born here, they don't want to go do a McDonald's job because they will feel embarrassed. But in Africa, the embarrassment was left at the doorstep. They will do whatever they have to do to make this money, because at the end of the day, yeah, their mouth is sweet and they're hustlers. So when you try to go in it, that's where you're going to face the challenge. That's why one of the biggest steps to do is think of entrepreneurship. And then on a side, you can say, hey, let me go look for work. It's just you have to change that mindset and understand the psychology to it before you move anywhere, because that's what's really the pattern here. It's just a psychology thing that we don't realize. But there is work in every single African country. How do you think these people build homes and they own it? How do you think they buy their cars and they own their cars? You understand? How do they do it? It's not magic. They get currency and they work for that currency. Because I don't see the biggest drug dealers coming from Africa. I know they come from Europe. So it cannot be that you're telling me that they're drug dealers. That it has to be that they're legitimately working for their money. They might have a few corruption, but the day-to-day average person is working hard for their money to own their own car, their own house to survive. So jobs are there. The question just is, like I just said, I will not go there without a team. That's why if I go to straight Africa, straight on my own, I go with a team. But if I'm going on my ones, I'm putting footprints, I'm setting safety nets, I'm thinking of everything. What if, you know, I'm making sure that I secure myself, because why? It's me against the world.
No, I totally understand. I love the way you're thinking and, you know, how you're strategizing. And, you know, that's the route I'm going down as well, you know. And I think, you know, as you say, having that safety net is so important. So I'm going to, you know, go there, do my best with everything all the resources I've pulled together. We're going to see what happens. But right now, please stay where you are, Marvin. Don't leave us. I'm bringing in K Digital, yes. See what the contribution is there. Bear with me. I'm trying to unmute. Can you unmute your mic? K Digital, because I don't know what's happening from my end. It doesn't seem to be working. K Digital, can you unmute your mic? God, how do I do that now? I don't know. It doesn't seem to be working from my end. I don't understand why. Let's see something. Okay, I think something went wrong there, but K Digital, if you want to come back to call in, I will send out the link again. Happy to hear from you. I'm not sure what exactly happened there. Okay, bear with me, Marvin. So
no problem, I'm here still.
So white people do that in the USA. They call it the good old boy network, hire their family and friends that are unqualified.
That's correct.
So, yeah.
Yep, Hall is very much correct. But for some reason, people in the diaspora think that what Africans must not get. It shouldn't be happening in Africa. It's craziness that we don't sit down and look at the psychology of simple things, you know, simple little things, man. That's present, and that we tend to make us keep us back on. All it takes is 5 or 10 minutes for just us to watch it and analyze. You know, who feels it knows it. It's very simple.
No, I totally agree. Yeah. So I think, you know, like you said, like, you know, just from the beginning of this whole talk, it's a change of mindset. You know, we have to strategize, and we do have to network with other people, but definitely we have to vet them as well. You can't just let anybody into your space, anyone into your business, not because, you know, we're all black, we're all on the same page. You really need to know what that person's about, you know, why they want to join your network, you know, what is their vision, you know, that needs to be clear before you run with that person in terms of business, you know. And, you know, that mindset of going to the continent and looking for jobs, I don't believe that's what Africa needs. From my experience of traveling to the continent and from hearing other people's experience. A lot of the time, because people go in there looking for jobs, they end up back where they're coming from. So failing to plan, you somehow you're going to fail. Sometimes when we fail at things, it's actually good for us because it helps us to work harder and pushes us harder. But if we can, strategize to see basically how we can prevent these things from happening, then we're in a better position. For me, what I've seen so many young people, and the figures show that, there's a significant amount of young people who are on the continent and they're unemployed. They have no livelihoods. Their families are really struggling. They struggle to get into education, and they struggle to find healthcare for their families, and so many things as a result of lack of opportunities. And as the diaspora going to the continent and wanting to contribute towards development and change, definitely we have to come, we have to look for a problem and find a solution. As Marvin earlier mentioned, sometimes we're just going there, we want to make money. That's the first thing in our mind, the first motive. But sometimes when you're going with that mentality, again, you're going to fail. When you find that, you'll find that when you get on the ground, things are not maybe how you expected them to be, and already you're thinking, well, this is not working, I'm going, So really kind of being patient and looking and seeing what is the problem here that needs to be solved, and finding a solution, and then knowing that that solution will may take time, and not just thinking, oh, a quick fix, a quick way I can make money on the continent. Everybody's going, so let me just jump on the bandwagon. Let me just jump on the bandwagon. So because it sort of feels like that sometimes. It's like, right, yes, so and so is in Africa, let's go. We're seeing these YouTubers doing this and doing that. You don't know some of the real struggles they're having on the ground, because again, some people may not show you everything, So again, we just need to be careful, do our own research, strategize, build networks, think big, So yeah, that's sort of what I have to say to sort of round up, because I was hoping that more people would sort of join the conversation. But it's been really nice also having you here again on the channel, Marvin, and everybody else who's listening in. I will give one more opportunity to anyone who wants to call in and make their final contributions before we round up. But Marvin, do you have anything else that you want to share with us before we round up?
Yeah, just to tell people that, listen, if you're planning to migrate to the continent, make sure you do a bit of history and economics. Learn these two things. When you get there, ignore the politicians, but obey the laws. Because if you sit down and you're going to study the politicians all day, you'll go nowhere in life. You understand? You need to focus on you, do what you have to do, but just don't break the law so that you end up in prison. You have to make sure you can swerve between them to get what you need to get done. So when you learn economics and history, you will learn, it gives you a grasp idea of how to grow a business and how to get creative ideas and imprint a vision. Because just the passport alone that you carry, whether it gives you access to America, it gives you access to Canada or Europe, is an asset. Because one thing I've learned in business is that access is more important than money. And if you think that I'm crazy, Warren Buffett, when he dies, he's not giving his kids none of his money, he said, but they will have access. Think about it. Why? The prince the other day, he gets married to this mixed race girl. He leaves, he doesn't want the money. But guess what? He's going to have the access. He can say, bro, I need 2 million. He can go to another country in the Caribbean or somewhere and say, hey, we need some free land, some crown land. They have access. So once you migrate from anyone to international, as long as you have access, you already have an asset. You just have to figure out, what do those people want in point A? and what do other people want in point B, and how I can move these things and generate a small profit till I can make it grow. Or you can take that money and dive it into something else like property. So say you buy in, some ingredients from America and you're bringing it into Africa. That money now, you buy a piece of land with it, and then you just throw up some homes and you start renting. What you need, the key aspect of it is that when you have the access, then you use that to create the cash flow to make things a bit more simpler for those who don't understand business, basically. That's all you need to do. And that's already a start. You just going back and forth to the continent for the time being until you lay your foundation, and you don't have to go and ask people for work. I always say that when you go to another man's country, as I said earlier on as well, but in a different format, is that walk with your plate. Don't go sit down at people's table without having your own plate. No one likes a beggar. That's how you're going to look. Even if you're among brothers and sisters, come on, Remember when you were growing up and your brothers wanted, or your sisters would ask you for some food, and you look at them and your parents still had to remind you that this and that's your sibling, You can't be greedy to your sibling. But it was just your human nature. So now that you're grown, you should understand that, yeah, listen, this is how it's going to work. Even if you go to Africa and they're your brothers, they're still going to look at you and wrench up their face and be like, hey, where is your plate? So, yeah.
No. Even I have to remind my sons as well. You must share, yeah.
Yeah, but it's just human nature. And these are the things that, I said, like the people in the diaspora, we just brainwash. We don't look at the simple things. We just complain because we're so used to seeing white people complain. We've joined it. I remember I was looking at this young lady that made the speech where she says that we learned the looting from you. Don't tell us that looters. And I said, wow. And we also learned, but what people didn't notice that we're not admitting to ourselves that we learned certain greed from them as well. Greed to be greedy to each other, because now that a lot of us has jumped over the border, and we in the international countries, we've seeped into the system so bad that we don't know how to behave anymore, how we're supposed to behave to each other, or to the world anymore. So when we go into Africa, we think that Africa owes us, just like how probably America owes us because we were marching, or England owes us because we went and on strike and start marching as well. Because once you get upset in an international country, you make some noise, then they adjust the system. They don't change it, they just adjust it. So we carry that same mindset. So in my opinion, people just need to just change that, get rid of that out of the system slowly. Look at the psychology of everything before you take certain steps. Don't just take it blindsided. You will not let anyone come into your house as well and put their feet up on your couch, would you? Or you will not let anyone, just walk in. Correct. Yeah. So why would you want to go into Africa and then just put your feet up and people lie? I mean, you have to set the foundation. You have to say good morning to people. You have to generally, once again, use your mind, use the psychology to those things to move forward. The best businessmen are people who understand psychology. The best gamblers are people who understand psychology as well. So
psychology,
it
manipulate us.
Correct.
And we're still not aware of it, but I just want to bring Maroon in, and please stay where you are, Marvin.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Hi, welcome. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. And yourself?
Yes, I'm good. Thank you so much for joining us.
Okay.
What do you have to share on the topic?
Yeah, just wanted to say thank you for your live stream. It's amazing, your platform. And just want to continue supporting you and others like you.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much.
But just in terms of myself and what I'm doing, I'm actually building in Gambia myself. I'm building some apartments, and it was some time back when I purchased the land, and I wondered how I was going to achieve it. and I essentially bought another plot of land, which I was able to sell. And from the proceeds from that sale, I've been able to build my land, because the land was quite cheap at the time when I purchased it. So I thought maybe if I give it a bit of time, because I wasn't able to build straight away. If I give it a bit of time, maybe the land would increase, the second bit of land which I purchased, which it did. So with that additional funding, I've been able to build my apartments. It's not quite finished yet, but I'm on my way.
Congratulations. Ooh, I'm so excited. Continue. Wow.
Thank you. Yeah, but it's not easy, particularly as a woman doing it on your own in Africa. It's not easy, but you just have to stay focused on your plan, on your vision, on what you like to achieve, and just continue working towards it. Even if you get obstacles in the way, don't let that put you off, because you will find obstacles, you will find challenges, as we always do in life. But we just have to fight through them and find and look for a solution to that problem.
No, that's very encouraging, because I'm sure, as you said, like you bought land, and you were able to sell another land to then try to build. It's not complete, but you're still sort of pushing through. You're having that, hopefully, not to give up attitude. Not giving up. So I do wish you all the best with your project. So on the topic of, we spoke about the fact that foreigners are the ones creating the jobs, and the diaspora tend to be the ones who are seeking jobs. What's your opinion on that?
Well, I just think we as diasporans have to go in there, because if we don't go and if we don't try, we have to be willing to try and achieve something. And Africa has so many opportunities. So whatever area of work expertise you have, or even an area of interest, just go for it. This is the time. We need to do it now before everyone else goes in, whether it's the Chinese, Lebanese, whoever. There's so much opportunities. There's so much opportunities. There's so much land available for us. It's not, we mustn't give up, and we must stay focused on the task at hand. And I noticed in the chat room that some people were talking about being qualified or unqualified or whatever. And I think that is where we're coming from in terms of the West. You have to have a master's, you have to have a PhD, etc., etc. But on the continent, particularly when it comes to business, it's about people who are willing to try. They've got the capabilities, and you can see by what they produce whether they're capable or not. So we have to be willing to give people a chance to try. And obviously, if somebody has tried something, or you've worked with somebody, or somebody can recommend someone to you, you give them a try. And based on what you've seen of their work, you give them a try. And if you see examples of their work and you're happy with the standards, then you can give them an opportunity, give them a try.
Definitely, I agree with giving people opportunities, especially if they've proven themselves. Then definitely you can try and see if that works, and then because I've done that when I'm in Africa. I normally give people a chance to prove themselves, and then just take it from there. Actually,
and also as well. Yeah, and also as well, I'm just thinking in relation to ourselves when we were training, when we were taking up apprenticeships, you have to start somewhere, and you learn from somebody else. You gain your knowledge, your expertise, your capabilities from trying things out, testing things out. So we have to be willing to have that understanding and that discipline when we are taking on other people in Africa, because obviously if you're building something, you want it to be done properly.
Of course, definitely. So I've got a quick thank you so much for your contributions. I really appreciate that. And those of you who are in the chat room, sorry, the live chat room, please do get the likes up. We've got a question for you. Are you planning to live in Gambia or only investing in property? So are you? That's the question, I guess, for yourself.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I am in two minds, I would say. I quite like, and obviously I've traveled to other African countries as well. Definitely investing in the property that I've invested in. I'm considering Ghana, but I'm also considering Tanzania as well. Possibly Uganda, not sure yet. So I just want to finish this project first and then, take things to the next level.
Oh wow, well done, and I hope that will encourage other people out there who are looking to take that bold step, and they've been sitting on this whole idea, encouraged to start. It will take time, there will be some hurdles,
absolutely,
but, push through and you'll get there. So I really
appreciate nothing beats a failure but a try. And at least you can say that you've tried this. Whether or not it works out is a different matter, but at least you can put that in your portfolio or tell it to your grandchildren and said, this is what
could be a learning experience as well,
absolutely.
If you look at some of the stories of some of the billionaires around the world, they've failed and then
try. If at first you don't succeed, you try and try again. So that's the attitude that we need to bring to Africa to to achieve something that we want for the better of our nation and our people, because it's not happening here at the end of the day. So we need to try something different that's going to benefit us and our
Are you calling in
people.
From the UK? Where are you?
I am in South London, UK.
Oh right, okay. I'm in West Midlands.
Okay.
I was living in Southeast before, but now I'm in.
Yes, I think I heard you mention on one of your vlogs before South London. I think you mentioned Eltham or that surrounding areas. So yeah, I know it quite well. It's not too far from where I am. So
I've invested up here, but done a little bit of investment in the UK. And now it's Africa. Africa has been on my heart, and it's unfortunate that this pandemic is here. But
and I think if you've got Caribbean parents who's I'm not sure about your background, but if you have Caribbean parents and they talk about Africa or have a Pan-African come from a Pan-African background, then that gives you that.
I'm the person, the age of 15, I just wanted to, from the age of 15, I basically wanted to experience Africa, and I got the opportunity to do that about 9 years later, and that sort of spiraled my whole journey of wanting to learn more about Africa and take my family. Like, I got married in Rwanda. I've mentioned it here on the channel before. And I was like to my family, you have to all come to Rwanda. They were like, what? Me come to Africa? And I was like, yes. And some of them were like so apprehensive.
Yes.
But when they came to Rwanda, they loved it. It changed their whole mindset. And, even some of them or other parts of the continent, it's unreal. People who said that, I'm not coming to Africa, I'm not, a little bit of ignorance.
Yeah, absolutely. I think
Rwanda.
it's, in terms of advertising and the agenda that's been pushed in relation to Africa, that's kind of kept people away and fearful to even, just have a look, just venture and take a trip, But now people's eyes are open wide with people like Walter Maya and Juliet, etc., etc. It's, giving the opportunity to people to at least, travel there and see for themselves and see what opportunities they can produce from that experience,
Patrick Masera, he's saying why Gambia is so popular. I guess I'll let you answer that, but maybe Marvin would also want to chip in.
Okay, I think because I had traveled to some other African countries, including Ghana, before, quite a few years before. I was trying to figure out where I was going to revisit Ghana, but a friend of mine suggested, why don't you try Gambia, because it's a similar size to Jamaica, similar sort of some cultural similarities. And I thought, oh yeah, why not? Let me give it a try. And when I visited, I loved it. I just felt so comfortable, so at home, felt so welcomed. All the things that people have talked about before. You know, it was the first time was an amazing experience. I just felt so at home. You know, people was just saying, welcome home, welcome home. The people are very friendly, feel quite safe there. And yeah, the way of life is very peaceful, relaxed, fresh food, etc., etc. Yeah, just felt so comfortable and at home. And I thought, yeah, I could live here. That was my very first experience there
I
6 years ago.
Gambia. I do want to visit Gambia. Everyone who's visited, like my friends, have said, you know, positive things about it. So it's definitely on the list.
Yeah, including, I would say, including in terms of how peaceful the country is as well. That was a factor, because in terms of my background, which is Caribbean, Jamaican parents, that was very, very important to me, you know. And obviously I was considering Jamaica some years before, but crime rate just sort of turned me off, really.
Jamaica is so beautiful.
It is amazing. It is a beautiful country. But
yeah,
and
he loved
particularly, I think particularly for expats, returnees, it's a big issue. So yeah,
big issue, big challenge. Yeah. But yeah, that's a topic for another day, which I
yes,
bring on
absolutely,
the channel here.
absolutely.
Thank you so much for your
You're welcome.
And support. I really love that. And
yeah, keep up the good work yourself, anyway, Lady Visionary.
Thank you as well.
Take care.
Sure you'll do amazing. And I'm looking forward to hearing more about your story along the journey.
Oh, thank you. Much appreciated. So much. All the best. Take care.
Marvin, are you still with us?
Yes, I'm here. I was just listening to Nana Maroon speak, you know, so to get the details.
Yeah, she's into property in Gambia, you know, making progress there. So
that's the correct things.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I think you mentioned a little bit why Gambia is so popular.
Yeah, in my opinion, I think it's because it's a small place. When you go into a place like Gambia that's small, your challenges, it will be a bit more less. It'll be, you know, it will not be that frustrating. You go into somewhere that's really established already, like Nigeria or Ghana, where Ghana has the year of return and there's so much people coming there. That's how much people in front of you in the queue for paperwork, you know, for land paperwork, for residency paperwork. So it's a bit of a more challenge. So a lot of people who want an easy lifestyle, and that's just my personal opinion, is that because it's small, they would move there. If you look at, let's say Gambia had even a pandemic, right? They would be able to control things easier than Nigeria because it's small. So a lot of people say, hey, I want to move to Africa. I want to take things one day at a time. And I want a small circle, small community. Hey, let's go to the Gambia. And obviously as well, land will be cheaper for now. It's going to be cheaper for now because it's small. In a few years.
Good.
Pardon?
I'm saying the prices I'm hearing, like in regards to the prices of plots there, I'm like, wow, that's really good. That's really nice.
Yeah, it's going to be like that for now. Give it the next 5 to 10 years, and then you're going to want to know what's going on in that place because it's small again.
I better get my land quickly.
Yes, correct. You have to go there while. This is why I said to you earlier on, even the coast of Mozambique and these places where they have the nice, you know, sea coast, you need to go there, you know, and grab a plot of it so you can have a little sea, you know, apartment next to the beach.
I was supposed to grab some land, but buy some land in Ghana, and then my whole plans changed, and now I'm like more focused on Rwanda. But if I bought that plot on the coast. Oh my God. So
Yes, you'd
I'm
be
really
smiling.
regretting that now, you know, because oh God. But anyway,
You need to.
everything happens for a reason. So I'm just taking it as that. We're having some new supporters coming in. We're just about to you know, wrap up right now. So it's a little bit late. But hi Kim, welcome. So yes, Marvin, as you were saying.
Yeah, but to also mention what Nani Maroon said, she bought a piece of land first and then she sold it and now she's going to properties. Properties will give her the cash flow. Now, when she has that cash flow coming in, she can look at other African countries. See, I have not met this lady, but I just gave you a blueprint of how to do something for yourself. And this is what she's done. And listen to what she said. She did it on her own as a woman, on her ones. You know, come on.
Wow.
It's all about following these protocols, taking these steps. There is no shortcuts around these things. It's steps and understanding the psychology to these things. Go where you can handle. Don't follow everybody to go into Ghana, Nigeria, or any other countries. You know, learn what the qualities you have, the education you have, what you can deal with, and then you take those small steps. And when you take those small steps, you make that plan, then you do things one at a time. Because once you get that cash flow, your possibilities is endless in Africa. You're looking at a huge continent of people that's hungry for growth, hungry for opportunity, but you have to have the vision. If you don't have the vision and the understanding of the concept of business and life, you're just pure not gonna make it. You better just, you know what, stay where you are. Yeah, the struggle is real.
I do agree with that 100%. Definitely having the cash flow, you know, to fund other businesses and ideas, and you know, that's how you're really going to be able to be successful in Africa. So, you know, even for me, this has been, you know, very inspirational. I hope everybody who, you know, joined us have really taken away something from this live. Everybody's contributions in the chat, I really appreciate it. Marvin, you know, for coming and talking to us, and you know, just giving us all your support and contributions. And again, Nani Maroon telling us what she's doing in Gambia. And I hope, you know, this won't be like a one-off, and I really want to be able to, you know, for you guys to share more of your journeys. And also the idea is for me to also share my journey here on YouTube with the rest of you guys. So, you know, it's really inspirational, and I hope that we really have gained something from this, you know, especially when we talked about strategizing, and you know, networking with the right people and taking the right people along our business adventures, and not just taking any person. Oh yeah, you know, I'm going to the Gambia. Okay, yes, we're black. Let's go. No, we really have to think about it carefully, think strategically, and make the right decisions in order for our projects to be successful in Africa. So again, I want to thank each and every one of you. I really appreciate, you know, all the support. So thank you all very much, and have a good evening.
You too. Take care.
Take care then. Thank you.